Hey Vikings, T-minus 21 more school days until summer.
May the 4th be with you. Hi Vikings, my name is Leandra.
And I'm Brianna.
And this is The Morning Show.
Oh.
Stanford is having their biannual blood drive. Sign-ups are at tinyurl.com/springblood-drive2026. And go to vendor to pick up the parental consent form due May 14th. The blood drive will be on May 19th in the small gym from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Seniors and juniors, you are invited to prom on Saturday, May 23rd from 8 and 11 p.m.
Prom tickets are still on sale. Tickets are $145, so make sure to get your contracts and guest passes in.
The Career Center will have an early college Zoom support meeting at 5:30 through 6:30 this Thursday. Make sure to come and learn more about colleges.
Mr. Goulet is available for brief interventions through peer referrals. For more information, reach out to him or visit room 15.
Moving on, let's see how band, choir, and dances performances went last week.
The Tenay form, previously the new clubs form and clubs rollover application, is due this Friday, May 8th. Fill it out at tinyurl.com/Tenay form.
Also, coming up is Faculty Follies next Thursday and Friday. Make sure to buy tickets to watch a fun performance and to support the school. Check out this flyer for more information on prices.
AP season is here. Here's the schedule for the next 2 weeks.
Make sure to check your time slots and complete your exam setup on Blue Book.
Make sure to get a good night's sleep, and we wish you the very best. Baseball is having their final 2 games against Logan. One game at Logan away on Wednesday, May 6th, and the final game here at home on Friday, May 8th.
Congratulations to all the spring athletes for completing yet another season. There will be no more sports games for the rest of the year.
These have been your daily announcements with Brianna
and Leandra.
For more information on the announcements, check out our website at ihsbluecrew.org or Instagram at ihsbluecrew. So see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sammy.
Hey, my name's Dan.
And we're just here doing an interview kind of about college admissions and how to choose your schedule and coursework now. So what's the kind of ideal student you're looking to accept?
I think the first word is authentic. I think authentic in a student's curiosity. So, like, are they truly interested and inspired by what they're learning about? We usually pick that up, obviously, in the essays, PIQ 6 to be specific, on the UCs. And are they authentic in terms of the way that they're trying to help other people in their community, right? So, it's so easy, I think, to go for, like, titles, like, oh, I was the president of this, or I started 3 nonprofits. Like, that's actually not what we're looking for. It has, like, the stories to share to back that up, that authenticity. Yeah.
Okay.
In both curiosity and contribution to their community. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Oh, also, what's like one piece of advice students hear all the time that you actually think is like kind of misleading?
Oh man, I think you got to take more APs. Yeah, that's probably the most insidious and harmful piece of advice. I've heard different forms of that over, like, working in this space for 14 years, like, oh, I heard you have to take 14 APs, or I heard you have to take additional APs outside of school, self-study, and so it's just really corrosive to, like, students' mental health, and it's actually not what colleges look for. But students fall for that, like, all the time, and so they end up taking way more APs than they need to, and they end up struggling more often than not, right? Like, you don't see a nice, clean transcript anymore. Usually it's riddled with, like, B's and sometimes C's or worse. So that's, like, the one, but I think there's plenty of others that, like, it literally hurts my heart.
I get that. And then kind of like, what do colleges then see like in terms of course rigor? Like, what's like the balance that they should have, considering what you just said?
Yeah, so the first thing is like, okay, prioritize unweighted cumulative GPA. So just, am I seeing mostly A's? I don't need all A's, but am I seeing mostly A's, right? In addition to that, did the student challenge, themselves in the category of the greatest interest, right? Typically that's in line with their major. So if a student is interested in political science and, doing law in the future, I'm looking for, okay, not only how did they do in English and history, but did they challenge themselves at some point, right? Now, obviously, classic, age-old question, well, what if a student just took a whole bunch of non-weighted classes and got a bunch of A's? Is that better than a kid who took a bunch of weighted classes and got, let's say, B's? The truth is, if it really came down to it, I'd probably lean towards a student who got A's, because at least they thrived, right? But the ultimate truth is I'd rather just take the kid who got A's in the weighted classes. I don't have to choose between those two, usually, right? But, I would say, it's the balance is, put yourself in a position to get A's, put yourself in a position to also have time to like enjoy the rest of your life because it's not just about the classes you're taking that is taking time. And then challenge yourself strategically in the areas that you find interesting and that you still believe, if I took a weighted class, I'm still going to be able to get an A in that class, given everything else I have going on in life, right? Whether that's like sports, music, just hanging out with friends. Like, we need to stop thinking about like courses in a vacuum. Like, there's all of life that you have to consider. Like, do I have time to do all of this? Yeah.
No, yeah, I get that. And then I know you said in another meeting, people tend to think that they can do like it when it comes to like picking a lot of like rigorous classes while not considering what you just said, like being free and healthy at the same time.
Yeah.
So how can students like realistically and thoughtfully choose like the coursework that they're going to take this upcoming school year?
Well, here's a simple way, right? It's like, first of all, understanding that like your grades and your course rigor in total only accounts for, roughly speaking, about half of your evaluation. So if you're spending like 90% of your time doing coursework stuff, you're out of balance, because the colleges also want to see the other half, which are not coursework, not self-studying APs, not UC Scout courses, not even summer programs. They want to see activities that demonstrate a concern for others, or leadership, or creativity, art. And so, I think it's the first thing is like, okay, like, do I have time to do the other 50? Because if I'm not making time for that, I'm going to be a weak candidate. Instead of stacking on more and more APs, I should be thinking about how do I balance this where I have time to fill in the other 50% of my profile evaluation. So I hope that actually, that kind of helps. Because if you don't understand that to start with, it's really easy to fall into the whole fear cycle of, oh, like FOMO, right? It's like they're taking more, I need to take more.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're way out of balance. Yeah. And you're not a strong candidate.
But yeah, I think that kind of leads into my next question, where like how can students like stop comparing themselves to others when it comes to like course load or achievements?
That's hard. First of all, I'm going to start by saying it's almost impossible, right? Because as an adolescent, I think we're all there. That's the phase of your life where you are neurologically, literally comparing yourself with everyone else, because that's a survival mechanism that's been shown in research. You have to compare with yourself with others to kind of make sure you're still on track. I think the balance of this is that, okay, asking yourself, is this though true to me, right? Just because my friend can get an A in that AP Calculus BC class, right? One doesn't necessarily mean that I can, right? And it doesn't mean that I want to. And so I think it's creating what I call like a space for pause. Like if you find yourself comparing yourself with someone else, your friend, your cousin, even your brother or your sister who went through this process before, it's good to just take a nice deep breath. Again, like I teach, students here in Thriving all the time, 4 in, 6 out. Just take a nice deep breath and just ask yourself 2 questions. 1, is this true to me in that, can I do this? Can I do this? So a matter of ability. And then the second question that you got to ask is, am I even interested in this genuinely? And if I'm truly not, and the only reason why I'm doing this is because someone else did, that usually means you probably should think on it a little bit more. Yeah, because then it's not true to you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
And then I remember you also saying in another meeting that you said like once like you have too much workload, you're starting to tread in classes, you lose time in other classes, that decreases the GPA. Like, it just like, goes on, and like that cycle goes
Vicious
on.
cycle, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So do you have like any advice, like if someone's already kind of in this cycle, like how would they recover? How could they stop this? Like how?
So two points of advice there. If you're already survival mode, treading water, maybe you're C or lower in certain classes, right? One, stop. Just pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Again, 4 in, 6 out, right? And once you get some clarity, I think figure out what I call what you can shelve. So shelving. So meaning like what's on my current plate right now that is not mission critical, and what can I pause for now to give me some margin, to give me some space to work, right? Typically students who are overwhelmed, they're overwhelmed because there's too much going on. So I think that the difference here is I'm not saying to stop it forever. And I think that's in like, for high school, it's easy to think that if I pause it, it's like means I have to stop it forever. No, it's just shelving and skill. It's like, what can I just put on pause for now? I can hit play later, right? Maybe over the summer when I don't have so much going on, right? So shelving is the first thing, and I think the second thing is knowing when to ask for help. I think it's so tricky because like when we're in high school, it's easy to just be like, no, I can do this. Like, because you want to do it on your own. You want to be independent. But one of the greatest secrets to maturity is knowing when you can do something on your own and when you can't. And so, knowing, okay, being humble enough to say, okay, I've done as much as I can on my own, but I'm still treading or drowning right now. I need to ask for help. And so I think that's the challenge is if you don't feel comfortable asking for help, let's say to your parents, then ask your counselor, ask a teacher, talk to your teacher, talk to a friend, but ask for help. I think those two things, if you learn how to shelve and you learn how to ask for help, in those moments when you're underwater, you'll get pulled out. Because you can't pull yourself out if you're underwater, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's good. And then how can students challenge themselves while still enjoying high school?
That's a great question. I think we've answered this a couple of different ways already, but yeah. I think, put it this way, Rumi wrote a poem called Body Intelligence. And if you're in a healthy amount of challenge, you'll feel good about it. It's like lifting weights, and let's say, your personal max on a weight is, let's say, the 75-pound dumbbell, right? And you lift it, and you didn't tear anything. You're still fine, but you feel good. It was stressful, but you completed the rep. It's good, right? Well, if you feel your body saying, this is not working, right? Maybe you try the 75-pound dumbbell, and you get hurt, right? And I know it sounds weird, but I would use that metaphor as if you're in life, no matter what challenge or stress you're facing, because there's always a good amount of challenge, and then there's over-challenging. And colleges don't want to see a candidate that's over-challenged themselves, right? So listen to your body. Is your body feeling stressed out? Is it feeling burnt out? Do you feel exhausted, right? Because chronic burnout, you can feel it in your body. It's biological, right? Mm-hmm. And if you feel like you're over-challenging yourself, right, that's where you have to be honest with yourself. Again, be honest with yourself and be humble and say, okay, what are some things I can maybe pause, right? And I've kind of learned a simple rule is rule of 3. It's at any given point in time, you can excel and do great and challenge yourself maximum 3 things at the same time. And generally for in high school, that means school, like academics is 1, and then plus 2 more. So what are those things, right? Is it a sport? Is it and something else? And I think that's typically where I find students get into a lot of trouble. They'll do academics with APs and rigor, they'll do a sport, and then they'll do band, or they'll do something else, and then they'll do something else, right? They'll start a nonprofit, they'll self-study for APs, and all of a sudden they're juggling 7 bowling balls, and that, as you can imagine, your body intelligence will tell you that's not a smart thing.
Yikes.
Yeah, so that's why you got to put some of those bowling balls down. You could pick them up later, but for now you got to choose which ones you want to keep juggling, right? Because again, you can only juggle up to 3. Some people can only juggle 1 or 2, and that's okay. Everybody is different in that way, right? So listen to your body. If it's telling you that you're challenging yourself in a good way, keep going. But if you're, and if you're not getting challenged at all, go find 1 or 2. That means you're not juggling any bowling balls. You're probably just holding 1 or none. But if you're juggling too many, your body will tell you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I also heard from a meeting that you actually were a student here in FUSD, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And I heard also you kind of vowed to make the academic process better for these students. So what about it was so bad back then? What did you wish like you knew back then? What would you have changed, and what have you? Yeah.
I think, for so many of us, I think, we come from, backgrounds where our parents didn't go to school here, right? My parents came from Shanghai, and they worked super hard to put me in a position where I can do well, but they didn't know how the system worked.
Yeah.
For others, like, their parents did go to school here, but that was during a completely different time. So they don't really get it. It's not their fault, right? I think what I realized was that one. Number two is, like, when I looked for answers, like, what exactly, like, how do I improve my chances, let's say, get to a UC, let's say a Berkeley or a Davis or whatever, right? No one had any clear answers. Like, you can scour their web and they'll just tell you very, like, ambiguous terms, like, oh, we look for leadership, but they won't tell you how. Or you'll talk to, like, a counselor and, you'll ask them about certain things and maybe they don't have the answers. And that's kind of what I found is not only did my parents not have the answers, the broader, like, I would say, system didn't really support, I think, students in giving them answers. And then lastly, most importantly, it's like through this journey of high school, you're looking like for a sense of who am I, a sense of identity. And, when you're taking 6 classes, APs, right? You're doing sports, like I play basketball, or you're doing music, or you kind of lose, you're trying a lot of things out, but you also don't have a sense of direction. And so when you don't have guidance on how the system works, and you don't have a sense of who you are, like who am I, and where I'm going in this crazy world, right? With GPT and AI changing everything, it just creates this nasty, like, cycle of stress, right? Misinformation and lack of direction. And I think that I don't think has really changed that much, unfortunately, which is why I'm so grateful for a place like Irvington with the leadership that it has, right? With the amazing student body that it has, the student government, yourself included. We're trying to basically provide not just the guidance, right, but the sense of self-discovery, the sense of self-direction, because that's kind of what I found is when you're 15, 16, and you find out the things that actually do move you, whether it's like an intellectual topic, or it's a sport, or maybe it's a problem in the community that you feel really driven about, right? Maybe it's a problem in the world. Once you set your course to a certain, like, direction, forget about passion, just a sense of purpose, like, you're infinite. Like, you're gonna do everything it takes to, like, do you, right? And I think that's the key, and that's what we're trying to bring to the table here with this program, Thriving in High School. It's not just about, tactically, how do I get into, like, my best colleges? It's, how do I find myself in this process? How do I do it in a way that's not too stressful? Because if I'm constantly worried about stress and what I gotta do the next, minute or the next hour, I can't find myself. And if I can't find myself, I'll be lost, right? And I've lived long enough to say, I've been around corners where people who are uber successful, but are very lost. I worked at Google, I worked in the stock market, I've worked in video gaming, I've worked in so many different sectors, and yeah, sure, people can go to a good college, people can make a lot of money, but if they're lost, it won't last long, and they'll be miserable while they're doing it, right? So that's the whole point, is how do I make this process not only more effective for students in high school, but how do I make it happy? How do I make it healthy, right? Because we all deserve to be happy and healthy and directed. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This kind of leads to the ending or conclusion of this interview.
Yeah, sure.
But this, like, event that you just hosted recently during Flex, it was thoughtfully placed in terms of, like, timing, because in April, students will have more time to make adjustments to their course requests. So before students, like, make these adjustments, what are some final things you recommend them to consider now after hearing all your advice?
Yeah, well, the program that we started here is called Thriving in High School. So I think the first thing I'd say is when you're looking at weighted courses and you're thinking about taking it, first of all, don't even think about weighted courses outside of school, just the ones you're taking at school, right? The first question, if you're debating between AP Lang or regular English, or you're thinking about double accelerator math or, single or regular math, the first question is am I genuinely interested in the content? Do I like this? Because if I don't like it, it's going to take me 3 times longer to do it, because I don't want to do something I don't like. It's very common sense, right? So that's the first question. And if the answer is, do I like this? And the answer is, like, not really, immediately I'd say you shouldn't take that weighted course. And but if the answer is yes, like I genuinely like that, then move on to question 2, which is, am I confident? Am I near certain that I'm going to get an A in that class? So if I do decide I genuinely like let's say AP Calculus, and I really genuinely like math, right? The next question is, am I fairly certain that I'm going to get an A in that class? And sometimes, by the way, the answer is, I'm not sure, because of factors outside of your control. Maybe you heard that there's a tough teacher. Maybe you're not sure because you'll be playing, you'll be doing track, and things get really busy during conditioning and practice and meets, right? For whatever reason it is, if there's hesitation, if you're not sure that you're going to get an A in that weighted class that you like, take some pause, right? Because again, a college would rather see that you thrived and didn't over-challenge yourself, got an A in a regular class or a less regular class, than struggle and tread water for a whole year, right? Usually resulting in B's or C's, or sometimes even worse, right? So if the answer is yes, I'm fairly certain I'm going to get an A in that class, then you move on to the final question, number 3, which is, are there any, basically, what I call landmines? Is there anything that can ruin my plan, right? That usually, again, is out of my control. And if it's all clear, there's no possible thing that you can see that can ruin this plan. Well, if you like something and you are confident and you're certain that you're going to do well in this thing, go do it. But if the answer is no, or I'm not sure in either of those first 2 questions, I challenge anyone to go walk through that path and survive and thrive, because I've done this. I've worked with students for almost 20 years, and students who have answered no to either of those questions or both and decided still to go through with a weighted course, they ultimately paid the price, usually in terms of a grade. And if it wasn't just that one grade, typically it tanked them on all the other grades. And an excellent example is, if I don't like AP Calc BC or math, or if I don't like A-Push or history enough to really do A-Push, I don't have less time to do well in all my other classes. So all of a sudden, it's not just that one grade, it's everything. And then I get miserable, I struggle, I have to stop doing certain activities that I like because I have to get tutoring now, right? It starts a whole thing off. So exactly, that's the whole thing. It's, how do we be healthy? How do we be happy, right? Is be true to yourself. 1, do you like this? And 2, are you capable? Can I actually do this? And 3, it's like, do I even want to? I have all this other stuff happening in my life. Will I have enough time in my life to do everything else I want and still do well? I think if you go through those 3 questions set, it's pretty bulletproof. If you stay true to yourself, you answer honestly, yes, 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 I'm good. 3 yeses, go. Yeah, go for it. But if not, think about it. Okay. And utilize that course change request, right? Because that's huge. Yeah, That might save you a whole year of suffering, and your college chances, by the way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sammy. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.